Thanks for joining Patrick and his wife, the wild guy, for breakfast this morning before heading out in the cooler weather, monitoring the glaciers, in particular the Hubbard Glacier. We learned from the series number 1 of the Inside Passage in some of the glaciers that some years they're growing and some years they're shrinking. But the majority of the glaciers are shrinking in numbers, but not necessarily the percentage of coverage. But the records that I've seen, there's 200,000 glaciers in the world. In the Ice Age News article, it claims that since Antarctica represents 90% of the world's glacial ice, and the East Antarctica ice sheet holds the majority of that, there's got to be a lot of ice out there. The Canadian glaciers and the ice caps that are found in the Arctic, I thought was massive, but really in comparison to the Antarctic, it's nothing. And they cover the Queen Elizabeth Island, the Barren Island, and the Bylot Island, and in the western and northern Cordillera. We were involved with that particular area when we were going to Rabbit Kettle on the Nahanni. But the Alaska glaciers only account for about 1% of the glaciers in the world. After the Antarctic, Greenland is the next one in line with about 8% of the area for glaciers in the world. My Googling and research sort of said that 91% of the glaciers, the Earth's glaciers, are in Antarctica on the east side. This is my wife and I when we were in at the Denali Park. More glaciers back there as well. There's, in numbers, there's glaciers all over the north. For many years, this was referred to as Mount McKinley. But it can't even come close to comparing to the Antarctic, especially the east side. Plus the 91% of the east side of the Antarctic is growing. How's that work? Okay, back to Highway 37. Remember, we're heading up to Dease Lake. This is the Meziadin Lake Provincial Park, a wonderful park to go to and great fishing there. We have camped here a number of times. I would have to say it's a beautiful campsite. Only sometimes in the summer you'll get some mosquitoes. A lot of bears around the Meziadin, so don't wander out too far. My wife looks fairly relaxed. The bears are at Meziadin, but not at the campsite. Oh, I guess that's okay for me now. Be careful if you're wandering around, especially on creeks and so forth. There's a lot of grizzly and black bear there. This is the junction of Highway 37A to Stewart and up to Alaska, to the Alaska Highway. This is at the Meziadin Junction we talked about, and this is the map of the north that you can cover. You've got a good service station there and food to eat as well. Highway 37A, or from Meziadin to Stewart, there was piles of glaciers all over the mountains. I just wanted to point out the grader you're going to see on the right here. I was a mechanic up at that time and used to do work on those graders. This is a road that's up on the other valley, on the other side of Bear Glacier. I used to go up that road, and we had a waterfall. Don't think it was that one, but we called it Car Wash Waterfall. When I first went to Stewart, I used to drive over that road. The reason we called it Car Wash Waterfall is it sprayed right out on the road. The reason the road was up there is because at that time the glacier come right across the valley. You see the horizontal line there, that was where the road was. I was taking a shower up there, but there was something wrong. We didn't have warm or hot water there. And up the canyon on the other side until it receded. Now we were able to build a road down in the valley where the ice used to be. Now large commercial trucks like this Aero truck is able to travel there. Actually, I was a mechanic for Aero as well, so I could have worked on that truck. For many that lived in Stewart or around the area from the mine, Grand Duke Mine, this was a playground for them on top of the mountain. That is the ski of a snowmobile you see sticking out there. We're going to have to move on fairly fast and get our way into Stewart. Oh, there's Stewart now. And we'll get through the town of Stewart. I lived there for some time, and I got to say that the nature around Stewart and the fishing in the Portland Canal will be with me for the rest of my life. We really enjoyed it. With the glaciers above Stewart covering the mountains, and Stewart's average snowfall was 18.75 feet, you could expect you could get some snow. I remember one year in Stewart, a snowslide come down and fogged the town. Stewart was one of the snowiest towns in Canada. Oops, I just about went through Hyder. Customs not going to like that. I got to get stopped. Just 5 or 6 miles out of Hyder, and you have the Fish Creek observation point to see these grizzlies and black bears and brown bears. The month of July to September is the best for viewing the bears. Now, what are you going to see next? This is Salmon Glacier. Lots of glaciers up there. This one is 25 kilometers or 16 miles north of Stewart, and it is not far from Stewart or Hyder, Alaska, and it's just on the Canadian side of the border. You can drive through Stewart, Hyder, and then you can go right up to the lookout below the Salmon Glacier. The glacier is one of hundreds in the Boundary Range. Lots of glaciers up there. Well, we are going to leave the Boundary Range and we're going to head up out of Alaska and Hyder and Stewart, and the next place we're going to be going into is Hannah Pass. They've got piles of snow in Hannah Pass, and a lot of the trees you see are all pointed up. They deformed the trees because of all the snows that's there, or the trees adjusted through that high snowfall. Even after there's some warm weather and it starts to melt and the road gets bare, you still got high banks of snow on the side. Then comes Dease Lake, and then we head down into Telegraph. Quite a road that one is, and we really enjoyed it. Even though we were on a cruise ship doing the Inside Passage, and in principle, the biggest thing that we're covering is the Hubbard Glacier, but we're including filming from the inland as well on the Highway 37, so we can include 3 more glaciers, so it's not just boring looking at one glacier. So this movie will be taking material from the 2 cruises that we took on the Inside Passage, and many trips that we took by driving through the Yukon, Alaska, and the Northwest Territories. I will cover some of the spots along the road, things of interest that may be interesting to yourself as well. From Stewart and then Meziadin, we're going to continue on up through Dease Lake, and from Dease Lake we'll be going fairly quickly up to the Yukon Highway and then back to our ship. Then there's going to be Bell 1 and Bell 2 bridge over the Belle Irving River. We'll stay with the Hubbard Glacier right now because it is calving again, you'll see there, and if you look a little further to the right, you'll see pretty soon another calving, so we'll have the 2 taken. There it comes around the point there at the same time. This was a great cruise, and going into the Hubbard Glacier was something that we'll remember for a long time. It's certainly great to see. The filming that we have here is from the Inside Passage going up to the Hubbard Glacier. But we have a lot of films that we've collected over the years that is on going up Highway 37, the Stewart-Cassiar Highway, and up into the Alaska Highway. So we've included some of that, so you're going to see it from both the water and also the land. It looks like we're fairly close to the face of the glacier, and we were very close, but we are only allowed to get within a half a mile. The ice can fall down and go down into the water and come back shooting back up and do damage if you get too close. Back on Highway 37, this is just a trail up to the Alaska Highway. The Belle Irving River is not a very straight river, so they had to have 2 bridges and crossed it twice. This is the Belle 2 settlement, really well built. This is Edentenajon, an unincorporated settlement. I stopped here often. I loved the name Edentenajon. I nicknamed it Ed and Ted and Fred and John. You'll see the sign there in that pass. Watch out for the caribou, because there's lots of caribou here. I've seen them many times, especially in the winter. I think I've seen many more. First, we'll go down through the canyon to Telegraph, and then we'll go into Glenora before coming back out. We're at Dease Lake now, and we'll be going down into Telegraph, and then we'll be coming back with Series 3 and going back to the Hubbard Glacier. So we bring Series 2 to a close now, and when we come back for Series 3, we'll doing going down to 16-mile Telegraph, back, then through Glenora, back up through to Dease, and out to the Alaska Highway, then to Hubbard Glacier. Then we go back to our cruise ship and stay with it till the end of the movie. So we're looking forward to you in Series 3. We'll see the rest of the Hubbard Glacier. So join us on the Inside Passage again, viewing the Hubbard Glacier. Catch you then.